Hello Keyforgers and welcome back. Today I'm going to be sharing with you my highest rated SAS deck. That's a SAS 91 deck here. We have Saurion, Logos and Dis. Narabat, the culprit of the moon. Bottom card coming out because that's the deck list. Turning over. Starting out with Dis. We have Eterome, 4 power, reap, destroy a creature of the house with the most creatures in play. Exhume is an action. You get an amp when you play it. Play, choose a creature in your discard pile. You may play that creature as if it belonged to the active house and was in your hand. Not finished with you is an action. You get an amp when you play it. Play, shuffle any number of creatures from your discard pile into your deck. The Evil Eye is an action. You get an amp when you play it. Play, keys cost +3 amber during your opponent's next turn. Eon the Fringes, 1 power with elusive. During your turn, after you discard a discard from your hand, you may purge a discard from a discard pile. If you do, steal 1 amber. A second E. And a third E. Obsidian Forge is an artifact. You get an amp when you play it. Action. Sacrifice any number of friendly creatures. Then you may forge a key at +6 current cost, reduced by 1 for each creature sacrificed this way. If you do, destroy Obsidian Forge. Soul Keeper is an upgrade. You get an amp when you play it. This creature gains destroy the most powerful enemy creature. 3 Fates is an action. You get an amp when you play it. Play, destroy the 3 most powerful creatures. Fair Game is an action. Play, discard the top card of your opponent's deck and reveal their hand. You gain 1 amber for each card of the discarded card's house revealed this way. Your opponent repeats the preceding effect on you. Wretch Doll is an artifact. Action. If there is a Doom counter in play, destroy all creatures with Doom counters. Otherwise, put a Doom counter on a creature. On to Logos now. We have Daughter, 2 power elusive. During your draw card step, refill your hand to 1 additional card. A second Daughter. And a third Daughter. Igor, 2 power. Play. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck. Add 1 to your hand and discard the others. A second Igor. Hapsis, 5 power. After an enemy creature is destroyed fighting Hapsis, ward Hapsis and draw a card. Tautau Vapors is an action. Play, draw 2 cards, archive a card. Titan Guardian, 5 power, 1 armor with taunt, destroyed. If Titan Guardian is not on a flank, draw 2 cards. Wild Wormhole is an action. You get an amp when you play it. Play the top card of your deck. Discombobulator is an upgrade. You get an amber when you play it. This creature gains, your amber cannot be stolen. Interdimensional Graft is an action. You get an amber when you play it. Play, if your opponent forges a key on their next turn, they must give you their remaining amber. Reassembling Automaton, 3 power. Destroyed, if you have any other creatures in play, instead of destroying Reassembling Automaton, fully heal it, exhaust it, and move it to a flank. And finally on to Saurions. Axiom of Grisk is an action. Play, ward a creature, destroy each creature with no amber on it. Gain 2 chains. Chant of Hubris is an action. You get an amber when you play it. Play, move 1 amber from a creature to another creature. A second Chant of Hubris. Imperium is an action. You get an amber when you play it. Play, ward 2 friendly creatures. Legatus Raptor, 4 power, 1 armor. Fight, you may exalt Legatus Raptor. If you do, ready and use another friendly creature. Questajata, 3 power with elusive. Reap, you may exalt Questajata. If you do, gain 1 amber. The Golden Spiral is an artifact. Action, exalt a friendly creature. Ready and use that creature. Thero Centurion, 6 power, 1 armor. Play, fight, capture 1 amber. Tribute is an action. You get an amber when you play it. Play, the most powerful friendly creature captures 2 amber. You may exalt that creature to repeat the preceding effect. Library of Polyosaurus is an artifact. Action, move 1 amber from a friendly creature to your pool. 6 Semper Tyrannosaurus is an action. Play, move each amber from the most powerful creature to your pool and destroy that creature. Favor of Rex is an action. You get an amber when you play it. Play, trigger the play effect of a creature as if you had played it. And there we have it. Let's get straight into the breakdown. I don't think I mentioned it earlier, but this is a Worlds Collide deck. There is 14 printed amber, 15 actions, 15 creatures, 4 artifacts, and 2 upgrades. If we get straight into Amber control, it's pretty good. We had the interdimensional graft. Logos action, if your opponent forges a key, they give you all of their remaining amber. If you are facing a ramp deck, this is a very, very good card to use. We do have other ways of controlling our opponent's amber in this deck, which includes raising key costs and capturing and stealing. So I've never really used this game more than about 1 or 2 amber, but if you were facing a really rampy, say, Call of the Archons deck, this could come in handy. In Dis, we had the Evil Eye, action that makes your opponent's keys cost +3 during the next turn. And then we had 3 E on the Fringe, or E on the Fringes. The 1-power spiders with elusive. During your turn, after you discard a discard from your hand, you may purge a discard from a discard pile. If you do, steal 1. Now, we had to search at the store where I played this deck to find the ruling on this card. And we found out that if I discard 1 discard from my hand, I can then purge up to 3 cards if I have all 3 in play to steal 3 amber. You don't have to discard a card for each separate E. Discarding 1 card will activate the ability on all 3, but then you will have to purge a separate discard for each one to activate the steal. Now this really helps if your opponent is playing Dis, because you can just decimate an entire house from their discard pile. There are some cards in our Dis that we don't mind purging if we need to, but this is a very, very useful way of just disrupting your entire opponent's deck if they are playing Dis. In Saurions, we had Thero Centurion, 6 power, 1 armor, play, fight, capture 1 amber. And then we had what went quite well with it, the Library of Polyosaurus. Artifact, action, move 1 amber from a friendly creature to your pool. Now we do have capture and we do have exalting in here, so having that artifact, very, very handy for us. Then we did have the 2 Chant of Hubris as well, to move 1 amber from a creature to another creature, and that does generate us an amber for playing that action as well, so we can stack the amber on our opponent's creatures, even if we exalt, just so we can get it back. But we might want to put a lot of the amber on our most powerful creature, because we have Tribute. The most powerful friendly creature captures 2 amber. You may exalt that creature to repeat the preceding effect, so you could, in theory, capture 4 amber from your opponent, exalt your most powerful creature, so it's going to have at least 5 amber on it, plus you get an amber for playing it, and then you can play Sic Semper Tyrannosaurus. Now this card is pretty nuts, but just be very careful, because it says move each amber from the most powerful creature to your pool and destroy that creature, not the most powerful friendly. So if you've captured onto your most powerful with Tribute, and your opponent's got a higher powered creature, Sic Semper Tyrannosaurus will target them. But if you can pull off a Tribute with a Sic Semper, that's a lot of amber generation in 1 turn. That could also go under Expected Amber. It's a very nice combo in the deck. And with Expected Amber, we also had a fair game in Dis. You discard the top card of your opponent's deck and reveal their hand. You then gain 1 amber for each card of the discarded card's house revealed this way. Your opponent repeats the preceding effect on you. So it is a bit of a hit or miss. It works on both of you. I tend to purge this with E, because I can never really guarantee what's in my deck unless I'm really low on the bottom of my deck. But again, if you can empty your hand, great. If that's your last card and your opponent's got a full hand because they would have drawn up on their turn, fantastic. But usually it's an E on the Fringes target. The rest of the expected was in Saurion. We had that Golden Spiral artifact, action, exalt a friendly creature, ready and use that creature. So you could use that to reap, and the exalt we're not too worried about because we have a lot of amber manipulation for the board. And speaking of manipulating amber, when you exalt, we had Legatus Raptor, 4 power, 1 armor, fight, you can exalt it, and if you do, you ready and use another friendly creature. That's an out of house cheat there. And then we had Questajata, 3 power, elusive. When you reap, you can exalt it, and if you do, you gain 1. So you reap, exalt it, gain 2 basically. There was no artifact control in this deck, which is probably one of the letdowns. If your opponent has Dis artifacts and they've somehow discarded them, fantastic, you can purge them. But if they're on the board We can't really do much about them. Creature control, we can though. In Saurion, we had the Axiom of Grisk. We ward a creature and then we destroy each creature with no amber on it, gain 2 chains. Again, we've got those Chant of Hubris, which will allow us to move amber around. So if it's on our opponent's creatures and we want them to die, and we've got to play Axiom, we'll just move it onto one of our creatures, possibly our most powerful friendly creature, to set up for a 6 amber, and then ward it. In Dis, we had Wretchdol, third artifact in the deck, with the action, if there is a Doom counter in play, destroy all creatures with Doom counters. Which does mean that if your opponent has a Wretchdol and they've marked a creature already, if you use the action, it will actually destroy that creature, and it will most likely be yours, because your opponent would only put a Doom counter on their own creature if it had a good destroy effect. Eterome, 4 power, Reap, destroy a creature of the house with the most creatures in play. With the amount of control we have in this deck, that tends to get E'd as well, especially if our opponent is not playing Dis. We had Soulkeeper. This creature gains destroy the most powerful enemy creature. And then we had 3 Fates. Destroy the 3 most powerful creatures. Again, a little bit of anti-synergy if we're setting up for a 6 Emperor, but we still have control in this deck, including that board wipe of Axiom. Does struggle sometimes if you're facing off against Saurions, Worlds Collide Saurions that is, or Sanctum, because they capture a lot as well. I think the reason this is such a high SAS deck is because efficiency is pretty much through the roof in this deck, and it's all in logos. There are 8 cards that deal with efficiency. We have Telltale Vapors, action of draw 2 cards, archive a card. The 2 Igors, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 to your hand and discard the others. The Wild Wormhole, to play the top card of our deck. There isn't much that we wouldn't want to hit. I guess an ill-timed 6 Semper Tyrannosaurus, 3 Fates or Axiom would probably be quite bad, but I wouldn't risk that if we had a good board. We had the Titan Guardian, 5 power, 1 armor with Taunt, and when it's destroyed, if it's not on a flank, we draw 2 cards. And then we had 3 Daughter, 2 power with Elusive, and during our draw card step, we refill our hand to 1 additional card. If you have all 3 on the board, you are drawing up to 9 cards each turn. That is one thing this deck does very well, in the fact that you will never have 6 cards in your hand most of the time, because you will have some form of logos increasing your hand size. If we look at Recursion, and of course they're both in Dis, we have Not Finished With You. Action, shuffle any number of creatures from your discard pile into your deck. If your daughters have been destroyed and you want them back in your deck because you know you're going to be drawing into them soon, fantastic way of getting them in there. And then we had the Exhume. Choose a creature in your discard pile, you play that creature as if it belonged to the active house and was in your hand. That's a straight bringing something back from the dead out of house cheat there. There was one key cheat in the deck, and that was the Obsidian Forge. This artifact with the action of sacrifice any number of friendly creatures. Now there's a full stop right there, so you can use this to destroy your own creatures. You don't have to wait to action it to attempt the key cheat, because the next line is then you may forge a key at +6 current cost, reduced by 1 amber for each creature sacrificed this way. If you do, destroy Obsidian Forge. So you only destroy it if you forge a key on it. There were a few cards that didn't really fit into any of the categories. One of my favourites is Favour of Rex. This card has won me more games through, can I call it cheesiness? I will say cheesiness. An action of when you play it, you trigger the play effect of a creature as if you just played it. So if you play it on one of your opponent's creatures with a play effect, that play effect works as if you had just played that creature. So I played it on my opponent's Anthony, and Anthony reads, capture all of your opponent's amber. So actually it captured all my opponent's amber onto the Anthony, and then I destroyed it and got it all in my pool. It was absolutely amazing. I've done it with a Chota as well, to use the key cheat on the Chota. Favour of Rex is just such a powerful card. In Saurion we also had Imperium, ward 2 friendly creatures, and then in Logos we had the Reassembling Automaton, 3 power with a destroyed effect if you have any other creatures in play. Instead of destroying it, fully heal it, exhaust it, and move it to a flank. Which works really well with Discombobulator. Because it's not actually destroyed if there's other creatures in play, it doesn't lose the upgrade. So it's very, very hard to get rid of. And the discombobulator just basically states your amber cannot be stolen. So shadows can go and do one. And finally we had Hapsis. 5 power, passive effect of after an enemy creature is destroyed fighting Hapsis, we ward it and draw a card. That works if you fight with Hapsis, destroy an enemy creature and survive, but it also works if your opponent attacks into Hapsis and Hapsis survives and destroys the attacking creature. So just be careful because it does work on your opponent's turn as well. This deck has attended a chain bound. It won all 4 games, so it has 4 chains. I've played roughly around about 20 casual games with it, and it's been beaten once. So it is a pretty good deck. I've got quite used to playing it now. Like I said, it's not one of my most favourite decks I like to play, but it is my highest rated Worlds Collide deck. I do think Worlds Collide as an expansion was highly oversassed, and I do like to play decks when I get them before I sass them. That's so I don't have any bias towards the deck. Sometimes you find really cool combos in low sass decks, so please don't disregard those low sass decks. And with Alliance coming in as well, I think the secondary market for decks is going to be quite high if Alliance does continue, because you might have one really good house in a Worlds Collide Brobnar deck that you want to take out and maybe make a Worlds Collide Alliance deck. So yeah, SAS is great, but please don't think it's the be all and end all of decks. I'll be doing a few more of these videos. I want to show you some of my favourite decks to play and some of my wacky decks to play, but the next couple of videos will be based on some events that I attended at the start of the year. So there was, I believe, 2 Archon and 2 Sealed that I've got to record videos for, so they will be up next. All that remains for me to say is good luck, have fun, keep forging.